You are now live with Fantasy Football Crackbacks, brought to you by Piggy Bank Picks and Fantasy Fornicator.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Football Crackbacks. This is Jonny Legend. You can find me on Instagram at Fantasy Fornicator. I'm here today with Kevin Banks. You can find him on Instagram at Piggy Bank Picks. How you feeling, my guy?
Man, we all right, man. We hanging in there. Tough week in football, but that's part of being a fan sometimes.
Yeah, man. Over here on this side, not feeling too good, man. I'm surprised I haven't burnt this yet. Actually, if it was a Trubisky jersey, I probably would have burned it by now. Really feeling it today, man. The Saints took it to the Bears, and yeah, man, just feeling it, man, and ready to do this show.
Yep.
Let's get positive. Let's give the people some waivers that they could pick up. And over here, man, unfortunately for me, I'm looking forward to Week 8, man. So, yeah, let's get to it, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, so waiver wires, man. Let's get cracking with it. Quarterback position, one of the most important positions in fantasy football. And we're going to start who's in the waiver wire, and we got about 50% owned. Had a great game just this Sunday, and that is Matthew Stafford from the Lions. Matthew Stafford is looking pretty good, man. Got the New York Giants, and that's a good matchup coming up. And then following that's going to be the Oakland Raiders, which just gave up 6 total touchdowns to Aaron Rodgers in that same division. So Matthew Stafford, I love what he's doing. He's having an MVP type season for his team especially, and that's my guy.
Nice, man. I'm going to go with my first guy is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yes, Ryan Fitzpatrick for the Miami Dolphins, believe it or not. He is 3% owned, and he has a matchup on the road versus Pittsburgh. He's coming off a matchup on the road versus Buffalo where he went 23 for 35, 282 yards, threw a passing touchdown. Also has 6 rushes for 13 and just a beautiful rush with total disregard for human life, rushing in for that touchdown. My guy, Ryan Fitzmagic, making it happen, man. So deeper quarterback leagues, 2 quarterback leagues especially, Ryan Fitzpatrick is somebody that I really like and recommend for this upcoming week.
Yeah, I like it, man. Fitzmagic, baby. So check it out. Last week I talked about Minshew Mania, and this week I'm going to talk Minshew Mania. I'm going to be a broken record. He had a solid game versus the Cincinnati Bengals today, being Sunday night we're recording this. And then he also still owning 53% of leagues, and he's playing the New York Jets next and Houston Texans after that. So those are 2 matchups I really like for him. He's grown on his own. His completion rate is very high. The guy's getting comfortable. He looks like he's throwing 2 touchdowns. He doesn't turn over the ball much. I think he's really getting comfortable with the position, and just see him growing on that team. And Minshew Mania is someone that I think people should own, and he has a great stretch for the playoffs. So that is someone you definitely have to have to your bench as a backup at the very least.
Yeah, definitely love that call. My next guy, Teddy Bridgewater for the New Orleans Saints, 16% owned. And yeah, just played against the Bears on the road. Very good game for him. 23 for 38 on the passing attempts, 281 yards and 2 touchdowns. Next matchup is at home versus the Arizona Cardinals, and Arizona is a team that gives up a lot of points, as we know. It's usually a matchup that you want to target for the players on the other side of the Cardinals. And New Orleans Saints, Teddy Bridgewater, look for him. If you guys need him, stream him. He's somebody that should come through with a big game in this upcoming week.
You should know that.
I do know that. That's why he's on my list.
I'm just fucking with you, man.
No, you good. You can't hurt me any more than what they did today. We good.
Yeah, I can't even cuss anyway. So, all right, check it out. So running back, we share a similar running back, and that is going to be Jamal Williams. He's only in 60% of leagues. That's a shame. That over there in Green Bay, they're definitely, trying to do that, have a dual threat at the running back position. So running back by committee. Jones has had a great season thus far. He was in the doghouse last week because he had that drop touchdowns. Williams looks like he's going to be in there a lot more. I like the matchup versus the Kansas City Chiefs, even though we just saw someone like Denver running backs struggle a bit besides Freeman that did punch it for a touchdown. But then, after following that, there's a Charger matchup, and the Chargers are banged up on both sides of the ball. So, Jamal Williams is a nice little matchup for the flex position the next couple weeks.
Yeah, man. Just to add to that, I like the fact that it is running back by committee. They both get their touches, and he's somebody that catches the ball out of the backfield too. Today he produced 4 receptions, just 26 yards, but that receiving touchdown adds an extra element. Both of these running backs are interchangeable. They both give the offense the same type of weaponry. So, yeah, Jamal Williams, somebody I recommend as well.
Yep. Great mind things alike, man. So my next running back, we're going to go with Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake is about owned in 60-something%, of the leagues right now. He's facing this Pittsburgh Steelers team right here. He's not the starting running back anymore. That's not and he hasn't been for the last couple of years. And, actually he never really was for the Miami Dolphins. But one thing he does do, he does rush the ball, and he also does get receptions. So, like to your point about Fitzmagic, the little dump offs, he could, he's a home run hitter, and he hasn't done it this year, so he might be due for one. And the guy will get you like about 4 receptions, maybe like 40 yards rushing, 40 receiving, and that's subpar. But if you need a flex and you need something that's just solid and steady, I wouldn't be mad at Kenyon Drake.
Definitely, with the bye weeks, is somebody you guys need to consider. Another guy I got, my second running back, is Alexander Madison for the Minnesota Vikings. He's 25% owned, and as we all know, it's somebody we've been preaching about handcuffing Dalvin Cook to. But this next game versus Washington at home is another one that's the game script should be positive for him. He's been averaging 8 rushes per game. I believe Dalvin Cook and him will be mixing it up. Madison won't get as many touches, but it's still somebody that in a week with the buys, injuries, and just unpredictable things coming up, he's somebody that is secure with his touches. I would say about 10 you could look for it versus Washington.
The right receiver position, we're going to go with somebody that, just had a great game. I just brought how like Matthew Stafford. So this is going to be, the little handcuff right receiver quarterback connection. That's Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones tonight had 4 touchdowns. Now, Marvin Jones also has had 250 plus yards in the last 4 games. So that tells me that he's being used quite properly, and that one of them games being that he only had about like 20 something odd yards or less. So he's playing pretty well, man, in those games. And I think it's someone that you got to go ahead and PPR, definitely having your bench, put him in your flex position here and there. With the matchups, and one of the matchups coming up for Marvin Jones is the New York Giants that you saw Arizona just have some success versus in the running attack, but definitely I could see it through the air as well. And then Oakland, and to my point before, you saw with Aaron Rodgers went into his vintage bag, shot what he did, and Matthew Stafford, I think he could do so too. This guy used to be a 5,000 yard quarterback, and Marvin Jones had a good game, so the chemistry's building. And Galladay's been, streaky here and there. So Marvin Jones, solid pickup.
Yeah, I could dig that, no doubt. My first receiver that I'm recommending is Preston Williams for the Miami Dolphins. Looks like we got a theme today. He is 12% owned. He's got a matchup, at Pittsburgh. And with this change at quarterback with Ryan Fitzpatrick, I just feel like it elevates the whole team. And I know it sounds weird because it's the Dolphins, but Ryan Fitzpatrick, he throws that ball like he does not care. He will chuck it down the field and give his players a chance. So this should definitely be a positive thing moving forward. Played against Buffalo this past week, had 8 targets for 6 receptions, 82 yards. In a PPR, you'll take that all day, especially as the flex with the bye weeks and everything coming up. So, yeah, Preston Williams is my first receiver I'm recommending for this upcoming week.
So when it comes to the right receiver position, owned in 72% of leagues. So, he's not going to be available in every league. But for those that are and lucky, D.D. Westbrook. We were talking about him in the inactives and actives earlier today. And he had a pretty good game. D.D. Westbrook looks like he's doing just quite well, playing the New York Jets and also Houston. So that's also another handcuff for one of the quarterbacks I was giving you in Minshew. D.D. Westbrook's going to have some nice little, playoff matchups as well for you guys in fantasy. And, with DJ Chark over there, that's a little good duo. And I know people did draft DD pretty high in their draft. So, I hope you kept them around and benched them if needed. And now that he's actually getting a little bit of steam, I feel comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. DJ Chark opens things up, takes the defense will focus on him and open things up for Westbrook. I like it a lot. My next guy is Kenny Stills from the Houston Texans, 12% owned. With Will Fuller's hamstring, which, really, really hurt me today. Let me just throw that out real quick. With Will Fuller's hamstring, and his injury concerns is something that you brought up in our live stream earlier, I believe it was. But, definitely somebody that you guys could stream. He's heavily involved. His next matchup is at home versus Oakland, and we all just saw what happened with the Packers, just exposing that secondary. Versus the Colts, he had 5 targets with 4 receptions and 105 yards. So, yeah, Kenny Stills is my second wide receiver. I recommend for you guys to pick up, especially with Will Fuller's injury.
I like that, man. I like that. He got 100 yards, so he is a clone of exactly what Fuller does and brings to that offense. So let's go to the tight end position. And my tight end that I have, he did not play today. But in the 2 games previous to this, he had a touchdown each game. And he's building some, steam and chemistry with the quarterback that you had mentioned, Jared Cook. So when I was really high on in the beginning of the season, and Jared Cook, like I said, he had those 2 touchdowns, the worst defense when it comes to covering the tight end position, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. So I will continuously pick the Arizona Cardinals to fail, and Jared Cook, in the games that he was starting, had 2 games, those 2 games with 2 touchdowns. I think that he's going to continue that streak and get 3 versus the Arizona Cardinals, Jared Cook, and a stash for later on in the season when Drew Brees comes back very soon.
Definitely like that one. My first tight end, Dallas Goedert, from the Philadelphia Eagles, 13% owned. Next matchup at Buffalo, scored a touchdown versus the Cowboys. Zach Ertz disappeared versus the matchup, versus the Cowboys, and he's been honestly disappointing so far as high as he was drafted.
Tell me about
Dallas Goedert is somebody, it sounds weird, like, he's like a handcuff to Zach Ertz. It's weird to say that in a tight end landscape, but he really is. And if something was to happen to Ertz, Goedert is definitely going to be in the conversation for a tight end 1. So his next matchup, like I said, at Buffalo, he's somebody that gets involved in the offense. And, he's somebody that I really like. The Eagles, they like to incorporate their tight ends a lot. And Dallas Goedert is the guy I'm recommending for this upcoming week.
Yeah, I like that, man. Dallas, he's pretty nice, man. So let's go to the next tight end position, and that's going to be someone that we had brought up before. But, sometimes you got to remind you fellas, keep looking out for this guy. I know he didn't play once again, but that's Chris Herndon. That's someone that has a nice matchup coming up. It's versus the Jacksonville Jaguars this coming week. And let's see if he's healthy enough for it. If not, Miami Dolphins is the next one, and that's a game that I think that he's going to go ahead and showcase his talent and say, hey, I'm back in the NFL. Welcome to the 2019 season. Chris Herndon, he's had a nice little rapport his rookie year with, at that time, rookie Sam Darnold. And I think they're going to grow year 2, and he's going to show you a little something, the tight end position, which a lot of people need help in, and that's me in some leagues as well.
Yeah, man, Chris Herndon's somebody that once he starts playing, he's going to produce. The chemistry's there. It's already proven, and I expect big things from him, especially tight ends is so scarce. As you guys will see, as I'm going to throw out there, Ricky Seals-Jones from the Cleveland Browns, 3% owned, fresh off of a bye. And the matchup isn't the prettiest versus the Patriots. But, again, we're digging here. The tight end landscape is very scarce. We say this a lot, and it's true. The last 3 games, he's had 10 targets for 6 receptions and 2 touchdowns. All you need with these tight ends and a lot of these players that we're streaming is a touchdown. That's all we need. So Ricky Seals-Jones, if he comes through with that touchdown, if you guys are in deeper leagues especially, look out for him in your waiver wire. Only 3% owned.
like that, man. I like that. Moving forward, we're going to the kicker position. You know, the very favorite position of everybody out there in the fantasy world, but they do matter. And I had this guy before, you know, probably like about 3-4 weeks ago. He didn't have his place kicker or whatever, yada, yada, yada. And that's going to be my boy Gold from the San Francisco 49ers. Guess what? He had some attempts, you know, today. And I believe it was 3 because it was only 9-0 in that boring game versus the Redskins. But they play the Carolina Panthers. And I feel the Carolina's going to get some pressure on them. The Niners are going to have to settle for some field goals and not necessarily punch them in the red zone every single time. So I look for my boy Gold, you know, to probably have 2-3 attempts, and that's a very solid day for any kicker.
I'm digging that, and actually, my kicker is in that same game, and for the same reasons you got Robbie Gold is the same reasons I got Joey Sly from the Carolina Panthers. 42% owned. More than half of you guys could pick him up. Thing about him too, he's tied as the #1 kicker in the league so far with Harrison Butker in points, which is pretty crazy. So if he's out there, pick him up. The Panthers got a good enough offense to get close to the red zone, and in this matchup versus the Niners against a pretty potent defense, they're going to limit their scoring ability as a touchdowns, and they're going to get more field goal opportunities. So Joey Sly, my guy this week.
I like it, man. I like it. So finishing this off, the defense that I'm picking, the reason I'm wearing this jersey is that I like the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Miami Dolphins. Why? Because, well, the Steelers have shown us that their defense is actually coming alive and they can actually play some ball like the old Steeler way. Maybe not like this guy Harrison in this jersey I'm rocking, but they are definitely playing better as a unit. This is kind of a, a revenge game somewhere for like Minkah Fitzpatrick, a former first-round pick of the Miami Dolphins. Maybe you'd like to get a pick versus his former team, and maybe versus a guy that has the same last name as him in Fitzpatrick. I think that they could create pressure. I think they can create some turnovers. Sacks, maybe an interception, maybe a fumble, maybe even a return in the special teams. We got to see, but I like the Steelers. Last time I took them, they put up like 15 points, so I'm comfortable saying that go pick them up in the waiver wire. And they are only owned in about 40% of leagues, so they're definitely out there.
Yeah. Pittsburgh Steelers definitely cranking up that defense, so look out for them. My defense for this week is the Denver Broncos. 34% owned. Their matchup is on the road versus the Colts. Thing with the Broncos and Vic Fangio, their defense has been stepping up. The last 4 games, they've had 13 sacks, 5 interceptions, and 1 fumble recovered. The Broncos, I feel like they match up really well versus the Colts. Jacoby Brissett, they're going to give him fits. They're going to give him a lot of pressures and possibly a couple turnovers. So Denver Broncos, 34% owned. Look for them in your waivers. They're a good defensive stream for this week.
I like it, man. I like it.
Yeah.
That should be wrapping up what we have for the waiver wire for week 8, fellas. Definitely, go put your claims in now. It's getting kind of scarce out there because it is getting deeper in the season, and some of these guys that my boy Fornicator right here was dropping are guys that are definitely out there. Some of the guys that I was dropping, they might be there or not, but definitely take advantage of both sides of the spectrum, and let's start getting these dubs and rack them up for the playoffs.
Let's go, man. Thanks for tuning in. And again, you guys could go ahead and follow us on Instagram, me at Fantasy Fornicator, my guy over there at Piggy Bank Picks. On YouTube, make sure you subscribe, give us a like. We appreciate it. And follow our page on Instagram as well, at Fantasy Football Crackbacks. To the next one, guys. Peace.
I feel like Bar Star when I spit these bars. I keep a sack up in my pocket like I'm